Welcome to Married to History, where we try to be informative, entertaining, and family friendly.
Aloha, I'm Christopher. I have a fancy piece of paper on my wall that says that I know more about history than most people do, and that includes Andy.
That was a nice dig to one of our most loyal listeners.
It
I'm
wasn't a
Shirley.
dig at him. I was just citing for evidence to help people get an idea of scale here.
I'm Shirley. I'm a homeschool mom that relies on good curriculum, Christopher, and DKI witness books to teach our kids history.
What
We've been
books?
over this. Move on.
Why you always get personal on me like that? Before we get into our episode, let's take a minute to talk about something from a previous episode. It's important to keep in mind that Shirley does not warn me ahead of time what we're going to be talking about.
Yep, it's fun for me to see what he knows right off the top of his head. And that means sometimes we miss things. If you would like to hear a more comprehensive and well prepared episode on any topic, just let us know. So, honey, what have we learned since last time?
I do remember talking to you not that long ago about when you asked me all those questions about the presidents, like who was the best, who was the worst, and things like that. I found myself during that episode kind of flummoxed because I'm like, how come I don't know the answer to these? Like, I can think of good things and bad things that these guys have done, but how come I don't have an answer for who I think is the worst or the best or whatever the case
I
might
wasn't
be.
asking about best, only worst.
Okay, and it occurred to me as I was teaching my students a couple days back that, oh, I think I know the answer because I don't think of I think anybody in history like that. Perhaps I'm wrong, but like when I'm teaching my students, for example, we were talking about the Great Depression, so of course they're learning about Hoover and they're learning about FDR amongst other presidents. And during the discussion that we were having, I told them the goods and the bads about Hoover. I told them the goods and the bads about Roosevelt, and never at any point in time did I ever say that one was better than the other or worse than the other, or imply that one was terrible or anything like that.
Right.
But what I did teach them was this is what people thought at the time. This is what people were saying at the time. This was the vision or the visuals that people got about these guys at this
Right.
time. So this goes to what I think has always been, or at least is my favorite feature of what I think is my teaching style, or good about my teaching style. I teach my students the content. I don't tell them what the answer is. I teach them about what these men did. I teach them about their successes, their failures, all those things. I teach them the stories and let them form their own opinions about it. So I'm not
Right.
used to actually stating my opinion on who was the best or the worst
We
in
get
many
it.
cases.
We get it. You're perfect. You're the best teacher, the most unbiased, blah, blah,
Well,
blah.
that's obviously true, but I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I mean,
Yes.
is it really bragging if we acknowledge the fact that I am the best? I don't think that's bragging. That's just stating facts.
Right, 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 right. All right. Was that your only note on that?
Was there something else that you would wanted me to learn, or something else that I told you about that you had
No.
forgotten?
No, I had something though.
Oh, okay.
So in our last episode, I think it was part of the corrections at the beginning. We were talking about names, and you said that Shirley used to be your boy's name, and I refused to believe it. Okay, so I looked it up because I said I would. So apparently, according to nameberry.com, it used to
Never
be
heard of them.
if you care about baby names, you know about nameberry.com.
I think we've clearly established between you and I that I cared not about baby names. I had all of our kids' names picked out before I even met you.
I know. Anyway, so according to nameberry.com, Shirley used to be a boy's name. True. It means like bright meadow. It's from Old English. But in 1849, Charlotte Bronte published a novel called Shirley. And apparently, I haven't read it because I'm not cultured like that. It was the story of a character whose parents had selected the name Shirley for their boy child, but then they had a girl and they decided to use the name anyways. And it sounds like from that point it was a girl's name.
Cool.
But then you fast forward to 1935 when the name Shirley peaked in popularity in America, peaked for both boys and girls. So in this year, it was given to 42,000 girls and 435 boys. That's
That's quite the discrepancy.
and yet 435 is still really high for boys to be named something that feels so fully feminine to me. It was number 249 on the popularity
Well,
list
I
for
want to say, when
boys.
you say it like that, you're sounding like that classic thing that I've talked about, where when you're judging the past by today's
I know.
standards.
I know. But today it's definitely a girl's name.
Hmm.
And if you know this book, Anne of Green Gables,
Hmm.
the character in that book names her son Shirley. But like that's because Shirley was her surname. So and that's a thing that people do. They'll give their sons like their mother's maiden name
Yeah.
as a name. So yeah. I actually went to high school with a girl with the last name Shirley. It was very confusing because that's the first time that I'd ever heard of it being a last name before. And in our freshman history class, my history teacher called us all by our last names. So when she would call on Ms. Shirley, I raised my hand because I had been not substituting, but volunteering in a kindergarten classroom since I was in 6th grade. And what did the kindergartners call me? Miss Shirley. It was very confusing.
I'm confused because if he called on you, why were you raising your hand?
Whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, I would look up. I thought she was talking to me.
Okay, yeah, I
But
get
I
that.
shouldn't have responded to Miss Shirley. I should have responded to Miss, my maiden name.
I get that.
But that was really hard for me.
And I want to say one thing that I liked about what you said, the possibility that this name switch happened because of that book.
Yeah.
So that's one of those stories that I like about history. It can be something relatively small and simple that can lead to later on down the
So
road
influential.
drastic effects on the culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
That almost goes along with what I've often called a symbol corruption or symbol change,
Yeah.
where symbols that we have today don't mean the same things as what they used to be once upon a time. And yeah, names are an excellent example of that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like a gradual change, like Ashley slowly becoming a girl's name where it used to be a boy's name. Where like this, apparently we can pinpoint like this novel changed the game, which is just nuts.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
So yes, history is cool.
I never said it wasn't. All right, honey, I have a history question for you.
I love history questions.
All right, so why did people from Haiti help the British when fight in the American Revolutionary War?
Oh, give me strength.
What?
You know that this is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Why would that be a big pet peeve of yours?
Okay, so I'm
Do you hate the people of Haiti?
certain.
Excuse you.
When have I ever said that?
No, but I'm
I-
trying
I-
to really aggravate
I
you
have
here.
no hate in my heart for the Haitians. I save that for the Poles. You know,
Oh my gosh.
I have nothing against Poles either. This is an old joke. Okay, so I've told you about
Yeah.
this one. A friend of mine and I, we used to play Battleship together.
Oh yeah.
And he, wait, no, I was Poland. So no, I like the Poles.
You don't even know who you hate.
Yeah, that's what happens when you catch me off guard and I'm just saying things for the heck of saying it.
Yeah,
All right, so yeah, I love
like you
Poland
do.
and I love Guatemala. I think Guatemala was oh man, the Guatemalan Navy, I stomped everybody that he
Wait.
through at me.
This was Battleship?
Yes, we played Battleship, and
You
he
just assigned
so,
a country.
when I growing up when I played Battleship,
Yeah.
I just played Battleship.
Yeah.
But when I met this guy and I started playing Battleship with him, he was insistent. No, you pick a country for your team
Oh my
on each
gosh.
game, and you can't use the team over again if they've been killed or defeated in battle.
That's
and
intense.
I kid you not, Poland had a good run too, but
Uh-huh.
Guatemala stomped every fleet he threw at me. He even broke down and finally said, "All right, I promised myself I would never do this, but I have to because I have to win. I'm going to play as America this time."
Oh my
Guatemala skunked the Americans. Good on them. So anyway, how did we get to this? Oh, you were asking me about Haiti. Okay.
Yeah, why did Haiti help Britain?
All right, so I'm pretty sure we've mentioned this before on this podcast
did,
because this
but
is a popular story
No,
for me.
we did, but it got left on the cutting room floor, as they say.
Oh, it did. All right.
did.
Okay, so, all right. No, the people. Okay, well, I can't say no for sure because it's entirely possible that some people from Haiti, by some system of circumstances, ended up in the American Revolution fighting for one side or another.
I can tell you.
Okay.
I'm 100% serious.
Okay, well, let me get to my thing before you go on to that.
No, hold on. This will
Oh.
be very short. Let me
Okay.
say this first. Okay. I found some articles. Here's a title for you. How Haitians helped win the American Revolution. Here's another one. Global African History. Haitian Soldiers Battle of Savannah 1779. So, you are going to look these up and have corrections for us next episode because that sounds
Well,
freaking cool.
I'm already familiar with the Battle of Savannah. We lost.
Oh Well, look it up.
And when I say we, I mean the Americans, with apparently our Haitian allies.
I don't know.
I would be interested to find out if the Haitians distinguished themselves somewhat in that battle. But yeah, we lost the Battle of Savannah.
Either way,
the Battle of Savannah is when we lost Georgia during the war.
Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows? Do you realize you're talking to somebody right now?
What I meant to say was who cares? So
I'm going to give you 5 seconds to take that back.
Let's get back on track here.
2.
I take it back. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get back on track here, though. So
back on track.
So Haitians, some did fight in the American Revolution, but that's usually not the group of people we think of when we think of American Revolution.
Okay, so this is
Tell the story.
This is a story. So, in one of the history classes I took at college, and this is probably one of the things that leads me to be the arrogant cuss that I am, thinking that I know more about history than even some people with even fancier pieces of paper on their walls than I have do. So, in a history class, and our professor, this was a minority history class, so it met one of the minority requirements. Even though I'd already met the minority requirements, I wanted to take this class also because I was curious about it.
Oh, I thought this was one of your teaching
Okay, well,
classes.
I should stop calling it a minority history class. This was a women's history class.
Right. Okay.
All right. So,
well, never mind then.
So yes, our professor is teaching us about women in the American Revolution, obviously, and we're studying, of course, other things that happened in the American Revolution to get context out of them and whatnot. And there was one particular moment in this class where, me being I'm going to go with the chauvinistic male that I am, I thought to myself going into this class, okay, I was curious. I wanted to learn this stuff. I wanted to know what I didn't know already. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to keep my mouth shut in this class because I'm a white male sitting in this women's history class. I'm probably not going to be allowed to speak.
Oh, yeah. If you open your mouth, you are mansplaining in a class like that.
To be fair, I don't think it ever turned out quite like that. But at the same time, I know I didn't speak as much as I usually do in other history classes that I've taken. So anyway, I digress. So we're talking about the American Revolution. And I don't remember what the context of was, but we're doing some activity that must have had some kind of feature or mention about the Battle of Trenton. This is arguably one of the most famous battles of the American Revolution. This is when George Washington does his famous crossing of the Delaware at night on Christmas Day to surprise attack the Hessian soldiers in Trenton, New Jersey.
Right.
Hessians are German soldiers. Now, to be fair, not all there's a province in Germany called Hesse.
Okay.
Not all Hessians were from Hesse, but that was the name that the Americans, at least, and probably the British too, just gave to all German mercenaries. Call them all Hessians.
Okay.
And so yeah, they were a powerful, effective mercenary fighting force that scared a lot of people because of how professional they were. Yeah. But yes, it's a famous victory for the American Revolution because that's like the lowest point for Washington and his army. And after they win the Battle of Trenton, though there are plenty of hardships for the American Revolution still to go after that, it really never sinks as low as it did prior to Washington pulling off that battle at Trenton.
Right. That was really nice of Santa to give them that win for Christmas.
Yes, it was a very nice gift from Santa Claus to make sure that their enemies would just eat a whole bunch and drink a whole bunch and stay up really late at night so that in the morning they were all fat and hungover and a a little lazy.
Yeah, I'm sure he had his hand in there somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure Santa was very much involved in that. It was a great gift for the Americans. So anyway, going back to the class I'm in. So as we've been broken up into group projects, and as I'm working with my group, I hear behind me some other fellow student in the class ask the teacher, "What's a Hessian?" And me in my arrogant mode, I'm thinking, why are you in this class if you don't know what that is? It's in the source material. So I am being my mean, petty self.
Yes.
And I hear my professor, and this is the part where like my heart just sank. I hear the professor say, "Oh, it's somebody from Haiti." I'm like, what? I turned around faster than I think I've ever turned around before. I'm like, no. Hessians weren't people from Haiti. Hessians were the names of the German mercenaries, the soldiers in the Battle of Trenton. And I could see it in my professor's face as she's looking at me, and I'm explaining this to my classmate and her. No, because not the whole class isn't listening. Okay. I can tell I have my professor's attention because I'm looking right at her, and I can tell I have the fellow students' attention too. And I could see it in her face. She had no idea. And
No.
I felt so bad too. It was like, why am I in this class when you don't even know something that's so basic about what you're teaching us?
No. But what made it worse, wasn't it? Didn't the student have the question because the teacher passed out like slips of paper?
It was in her material.
It was
in
her material that she passed out.
Yeah, so this wasn't something astray in a textbook that a student was reading about and was curious about. Like, no, this was included in the stuff that she prepared herself and gave to us.
And she didn't even know. Oh my gosh, education in America.
So that teacher made a couple of other blunders too that really mocked me. She couldn't identify a drawing of the British flag. She couldn't identify musket and powder horn. That again were from her own source materials. That she's the one that put that picture that had these things on display for us. And when a student asked her what's that, and she couldn't answer the question, I felt really bad. I have never ever written to a dean or anything to that nature on any matter of problems, because any problems that I always experienced were not worthy enough to call that attention.
You're not the type to complain about
But in this case, I was like, this is horrible. So this was the one time I ever wrote the dean and said, you've got a teacher that should really be reevaluated.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, like,
if I remember correctly, I got it, and I got what I assumed was a form letter response.
Yeah. Thank you for your input. No, but like, was her degree in like the history of India or something, and so she was just filling in a position?
That's a fair point. I do not know.
Like, I can't understand how you get a job teaching that class when you don't know the material.
Well, so
at a college level.
So to be fair, if it was like a random thing that she got out of a textbook or something like that, then I wouldn't have thought as bad. I still would have thought badly about this particular one, but I wouldn't have thought as badly of it. The thing that really kind of agreed to me was that, okay, but this is stuff that you were providing to your students and you didn't even know what it was. Yeah. Why would you ever provide something to a student that you cannot actually explain or that you don't know about? That seems wrong to me.
Yeah.
So your question, I understand it was, yes, you were bringing up that sore memory for me. Yes. So Hessians are people that were mercenaries from Germany that fought for the British during the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. Haitians are people from the island of Haiti. Or actually, okay, I think that's not fair. The island isn't called Haiti. The country is Haiti. I think that once upon a time, the island was called Santo Domingo. I have no idea what the name of the island is, but I don't think the island's name is Haiti.
But the country.
Because that island, Santo Domingo, which I think is still called, at least in some circles, Santo Domingo, is divided into two countries. One half is Haiti, the other half is the Dominican Republic.
Oh, yeah, I don't know geography.
And something cool that I love talking about the people of Santo Domingo. So I don't know if this is specific to the Haitians or to Haiti or to the whole of the populace of that island, so including the Dominicans. They are the only known successful slave rebellion in the history of the world. The only times where slaves successfully rebelled against their masters and created a new nation.
Really?
Yep. It's never happened before, at least not in recorded history.
I'm pretty sure I read that with the kids last school year, and
that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I don't remember any details.
And they, so to go on further than that, they have so much more than just so it's, given that you mentioned the Battle of Savannah, I'm thinking that, okay, their involvement in the American Revolution, if going off of just the Battle of Savannah, was going to be minimal, and I'm going to guess not that influential, but they had a much more profound influence on America much later on. So this is a story that not too many people were about. You've heard of this little thing called the Louisiana Purchase, right?
Oh yeah, that was like a no big deal, like minor event in American history. Yeah.
Are you trying to embarrass me or hurt me?
Yes.
Honey, tell me what the Louisiana Purchase was.
We did an episode on this.
Did we?
Yes.
Did we?
Because we talked about Lewis and Clark.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Napoleon sells us a whole bunch of land in Louisiana for a steal.
Yeah.
The only reason he did that was because Napoleon actually did have plans to have himself an empire in the Americas.
Of course, because he's Napoleon.
He had chosen as his capital, as the hub of his control, the island of Santo Domingo, because it had a successful slave rebellion. He believed it was going to be easy pickings. He'd be able to land a large army there, take over the island, and that was going to be his capital hub. He failed. The Haitians resisted him. They fought him off. And
awesome.
After that, he decided that, okay, well, if I'm not even going to be able to get that, then okay, my whole American venture we're just going to scrap that plan. And so he
He gave
sold.
up
He
after
was willing
that?
to sell the land to the Americans after that. Yeah.
Whoa.
So if it weren't for the people of Haiti, so and I'm going to be clear. I don't remember if I don't think the island had separated into Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So I'm going to say the people of Santo Domingo. If it wasn't for them, then we might never have, or at least not as easily as we did, gotten the Louisiana Purchase.
Well, and we probably would have gone to war with France at some point.
Possibly.
Okay, so I looked it up. The island is called Hispaniola.
I knew that, or I've heard that.
Yes, and it's split between Dominican Republic and Haiti. Santo Domingo is the capital of Dominican Republic.
Oh.
So you've got it mixed.
Okay.
The island is Hispaniola.
Okay, my bad. Thank you. I learned something new.
That's what Google tells me. So, anyways, I want to learn more about, because you're going to learn more about the Haitians and tell us that next time. But I want to...
Wait, hold. The Haitians or the Hessians?
The Haitians.
Okay.
Okay. But
was there something specific you wanted me to learn about them? Because
I told you those articles.
Haiti is in a sad state.
No, those articles that I found.
Okay.
Okay, but tell me more about the Hessians. So define a mercenary for us.
So a mercenary is a soldier who is not so much a volunteer or even a person pressed into service. A mercenary is a soldier who is paid for their services. There's advantages and disadvantages to mercenaries. One of the advantages to mercenaries is, well, you don't have to keep a full-time army. You can just hire these guys whenever you need them.
Yeah.
Mercenaries tend to be better than your average everyday soldier, or at least your conscript or your militiamen, because they're a professional fighter. But at the same time, one of the great downsides of mercenaries is that once the money stops, there's no loyalty there. They have no reason to stick around and fight for you. And if ever a fight is coming and it looks like it's going to be a particularly egregious fight, then again, you can't really rely on mercenary soldiers, because what good's all that money if they're not going to be alive to spend it? And it has happened on plenty of occasions that if offered more money to go away, or if looking on, they see that we're not going to win this fight, then they'll just take their money and walk away.
Dang.
So in this case, the Hessians that were used in the American Revolution didn't really have to worry about that.
Why?
So
Because America was too
I've
poor to
never
buy
done an in-depth study to know how true this is, but several of the sources that I know I've read in the past have all conveyed the idea that in the case of the American Revolution, at least, the Hessians were what we would call a fear weapon. Oh yeah, if they got into battle, they'd mess you up, but just the reputation of them was enough to win battles or to make the enemy run away or to be afraid to engage them or whatnot, because it was known who these guys were. It was known that they were professional. It was known that they were elite. It was known that they were scary. And there's a lot of Germans living in the Americas during the American Revolution. Arguably the second largest population in the 13 colonies were people from the German territories.
So
I want to be clear, Germany wasn't a nation back in that time. It was a bunch of loose independent principalities, confederacies and whatnot. So, but there were a lot of Germans living in especially the northern colonies at this time. And so they knew who the Hessians were, and I'm sure that they did an unfair part in making sure that all the rest of the Americans knew just how terrifying these guys were.
Well, that makes me wonder.
So yeah, there are more than two types of weapons at war, but in the case of this, there are. I remember there was an episode of Stargate where they did a beautiful little bit on this, but the idea is there are at least two kinds of weapons in war. There are the weapons that are designed to kill the enemy; those are the ones that are going to win battles, and then there are the weapons that are designed to intimidate, to frighten the enemy. Those ones tend to win the battles before they're even fought.
So that makes me wonder then. I don't know if you know this, but were German immigrants to the America more likely to be Tories, more likely to be on the British side of the revolution?
Not that I'm aware of. I do not recall hearing of any significant population of German immigrants who particularly were Tories. But at the same time, I don't have the numbers of whatnot of how many fought in the revolution. Off the top of my head, I can only think of one company that I heard about. I don't even remember what their name was, but it was known that they were a German company that was in Washington's army, and I believe that they were participants in the Battle of Trenton.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that's just one account that I'm familiar with. Outside of that, I know of nobody that ever did an in-depth enough census statistic to find out how many, first off, how many German people were actually in the 13 colonies at the time, let alone which sides they took.
Right. It would just be interesting, like, if you could say that, like, this number of German immigrants were not revolutionaries because they were, like, so afraid of the Hessians. They're like, oh shoot, they got the Hessians on their side.
Their fear of the Hessians wouldn't determine if they were on the British side or the American side. Their fear of the Hessians would have determined, no matter which side they were on, their willingness to fight.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to be on the side of the team I think is going to lose. The Americans.
Well, okay, but we'll think about it like this. Let's say that you are a German, a person of German descent living in the American colonies at the time, and you side with the American Revolution. You can't control what battles you're going to go into. As long as you're not going up against the Hessians, you're probably going to be okay. But then, you hear the Hessians are the ones you're going up against. Well, then you might be a bit more intimidated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And all of this is not to say that that plenty of people weren't already intimidated enough or scared enough of the lobster backs themselves.
Yeah, true. All right, I had another question, and I totally lost it. Oh, so
why don't you Google it?
That would not help.
Didn't you just say earlier that Google can find anything?
Except Google is not attached to my brain yet. So
I thought your brain was based off of what you find in Google, though.
True.
I love you.
Sure. Okay, so the Battle of Trenton is arguably the most famous battle.
It's arguably the most famous battle of the American Revolution.
Okay, but I would venture to say that most people know about the crossing of the Delaware, but don't actually know why they were going. And you say Battle of Trenton, and I have no idea what that means. But you tell me, oh, he got in a boat and he crossed the Delaware on Christmas. Now I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so that would just be an unfortunate side effect of how, or not so much how history is taught, but just of how a lot of people either don't care or they're not taught well, or there's lots of different reasons for it. But it's undeniable that plenty of people, or to the best of my knowledge, everybody that's gone to school probably has bits and pieces of the history story of America. Some are going to remember that, there was the crossing of the Delaware. Some are going to remember that, there was this battle at Trenton. Some are going to remember that Haitians are from Germany and not Haiti. But then not necessarily are they going to remember every other piece, or that some of these pieces are interconnected.
Yeah, that's just how it goes.
I think that's one of the reasons why I really like history, and why a lot of my students really like it when I'm teaching or when I'm talking to them, because I show them all these connections. And so on more than one occasion, I know I've had guys that have stood up and said, wait, these things were together, or wait, this happened, and you can see it in their eyes. They get so fascinated, they get so excited.
Yeah.
One of my favorite experiences, I talk about this every time that I've had a job interview, or whenever people have asked me about a happy moment in teaching or anything to that nature. One of my favorite moments, I had a kid at a school who regularly was a kid who would nap in class, keep his head down, wouldn't pay attention. He wasn't disturbing anybody, so I let it go more often than not. And then one day I'm teaching about ancient Greece, and the subject of slavery comes up, and all of a sudden he pops his head up super fast after I've said some stuff. He's like, wait. White people were slaves too?
Yeah.
And slavery has been practiced by every people, upon every people, since as far back as history can go. And we're pretty sure it goes back even farther than history goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You blew his mind. America did not invent slavery.
I blew his mind. He was really cool. He still fell asleep in class a lot, but he stayed awake for the rest of that day on more than a couple of occasions. I was surprised to see him participating after that.
He learned one thing.
Sometimes that's all it takes. I've told you this, that I got bad grades in history. I consistently got D's and F's in history from
high school?
No, not in high school, but as far back as I can remember in my youth, all the way up until high school, I consistently got D's and F's in history.
Right.
And then I heard one story in my freshman history class, and talked to my brother Christopher from Germany about it. And that was just it. That set off the spark, and suddenly I'm obsessed with history, and I've been mad about learning and reading whatever I can ever since.
You know what sparks my interest in history?
Me.
Horrible Histories.
Mm-hmm.
A wonderful BBC show.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me really interested in history. Isn't it wonderful? You are not giving me anything. You can't just stare at me.
I believe I can. I don't hear anybody stopping me. People who are listening, do you want me to stop staring at her? Oh, that's actually a silly question, because you're probably saying yes right now.
Yeah,
right.
they're on my side.
Are they, though?
Of course
I'm
they
sure at least
are.
one of them is on my side, hearing how you belittle me and tease me and mock me and hurt me in so many ways.
I would never. All right. So, is there any other details about the crossing of the Delaware, Battle of Trenton, that we would find really interesting or really important?
All right, so the crossing of the Delaware, a couple of cool things about that was, yeah, the Delaware is a dangerous river to be crossing, particularly at that time of year.
Wait, was it like iced over?
It not completely yet, but there are huge chunks of ice. And so the Delaware, unless I'm mistaken, it's still true today, still freezes very regularly in the winter months. So yeah, it's a dangerous river to be crossing, especially if you're using like wooden small boats at night, where so you're not going to have the easiest time of seeing the ice flowing. So yeah, it's a very dangerous job. But they were able to do it, and they were able to get Washington was able to get his entire army across, or at least I've never read any reports to say that a significant number of them did not make it across, and he was able to eventually get all of them back across as well.
Wait, so
not on the same night though.
Oh, they didn't.
No, it wasn't. He didn't cross.
And then run.
No. So, well, there was a bit more to it than that. He crossed, fought the Battle of Trenton, won. The British found out that he had crossed and sent reinforcements to go get him. He managed to slip out past them and then turned north and hit the city of, was it Princeton?
I have no idea.
I don't remember where he hit. I want to say it was Princeton, but I could be wrong. There was another. He was able to take another city that the British garrisons that were coming to help, or were coming to get him in Trenton. He was able to take out that town because the British had all left there. And after he took out that town on New Year's, then he was able to cross back over the river to safety. But so the British blew a huge opportunity here in that they could have crossed the river probably pretty easily and destroyed Washington's army, but they were arrogant, they were cocky. It might have also been that they didn't have the boats that they needed, or they thought that it would take them too long to build the boats that they needed. So they, knowing that Washington was on the run and almost dead, when they got to the Delaware, they waited. They didn't try to cross it, and they just said, we'll wait for it to freeze over, and then we'll just walk across and get him.
And meanwhile, they decided to party.
And so that gave Washington breathing room. That gave him time to come up with some kind of plan to do something.
Right. But, like, who fights on Christmas?
People that don't care about the holiday, or in this case, people that are smart enough to realize that, hey, they're going to be not ready for a fight on this day.
That seems like bad form. Isn't that the same as like shooting a guy in the back as he runs away? Like they're
So the bad form argument is a legit one, yeah.
Yeah.
But you've heard that saying that all's fair in love and war, right?
Except it isn't, because we do have things like the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, the Geneva Convention was a good 200 years or so after Washington pulled off this trick.
Still, like
200 years, closer to 150 years.
But okay, that's fine. But no. We do have this history of like agreeing on things that are gentlemanly or like correct, like the whole you stand up and face each other and fight thing.
Okay, yes, but there was no. So to the best of my knowledge, though, there was no rule about doing such a thing on a holiday. To be clear, Washington did not attack on Christmas Day. He attacked the day after Christmas.
Oh.
Because the Hessians weren't going to be partying it up on Christmas Eve. They were partying it up on Christmas Day.
Wait. Okay, so what night? They went on Christmas Day night?
They crossed on the night of Christmas Day. Yes, so not the night that Santa was out riding around with his sleigh. The day after that. The night after that.
So the night after Santa had delivered all that liquor to the Hessians.
Yes.
In the morning,
because
in
Santa
their
is
stockings.
big on giving adults liquor under the tree.
No, but anyways, so then it was that night,
yes,
and then they attacked on the 26th.
So yes, fighting on a holiday, you and I might say
it was
is bad form.
Boxing Day. Did they box the Hessians?
I do not know the whole history of Boxing Day or whether or not that was a tradition at the time. So, but yes, going back to your idea, yes, you and I today would say that fighting on a holiday is bad form. But on the flip side, if there was no rule or anything against it, or even if there was a rule on it, you got to remember that in Washington, the Americans are desperate at this point in time. They need a win. They need something, or else, the cause is very, like I said, there was never as low a point in the American Revolution as just before this battle was.
Right.
If I remember correctly, when the British arrived in New York, Washington had an army of about 20,000 men at least. I don't know how many cavalry, cannons, and whatnot else he had, but he had a decent-sized army. By the time of the Battle of Trenton, only like a month or so has passed, I think, at most, between the battles in New York and the crossing of the Delaware. And in that time, Washington has just been lost over and over again, his army being decimated over and over again. When it comes to the Battle of Trenton, his army of what was 20,000 men is down to less than 2,000.
What? Hold on. What?
Yeah, it's down to less than 2,000.
I feel like I blacked out and wasn't listening to you. Is that because 18,000 died? Or were they deserting? Or were they injured?
A combination. Killed, wounded, so they couldn't fight, or diseased maybe, captured, or deserted. Yeah.
Holy cow. Is this the point where they resorted to eating their horses, as Hamilton so eloquently puts in
I
Hamilton?
do not recall reading any accounts of them eating their horses on this particular occasions, but I wouldn't have been surprised. Yeah, if you're starving, you eat your horses.
Oh my gosh. Dang, things were bad.
There was a reason why cavalry units, especially if they're going out on long rides, packed extra salt.
Oh gosh. That's dark and sad.
Yeah, it probably wasn't very good for morale, but they all knew this is how it's done.
It's for the squirrels they're hunting along the way.
Sure, the squirrels.
Amazing. Well, I think we'll end there on that happy note.
Yes, a very happy, lovely note.
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, then please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to hear a future episode with more information about today's topic, contact us on Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Married to History Pod.
Also, please contact us if you have a silly question idea or if there's something from history that you would love to learn about.
Just be sure to specify in your message if it's silly or serious, because we don't want to treat a genuine quest for knowledge as a joke.
Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Do you want to just take it out of this contraption and just hold the mic?
It's not a bad idea at all.
Then you'll have one less hand to snap and hit things with.
Alright, let's give this a try.
We could kick the kids out of the living room and
Let's
sit
give
at the
this a
kitchen
try.
table.
Let's give this a try.
Okay.
Really? Okay. Yellow. Yellow. Red. Red.
If you want to hear yourself, put your earbuds in.
Oh, yeah, that.
At least one of them.
L. That was this side. L. Hearing myself sounds weird. Not like Darth Vader weird, but weird. Cool.
Welcome to Married to History, where we try to be informative, Nope.
Where we try to speak in full sentences.
Where we try to do the script.